Hey everybody, Yankee here. As most of you know, a lot of people are freaking out right now because Glock has announced they're discontinuing most of their guns. Most models of most generations are going away. However, most of those models are coming back as a Gen V, with the exception of some 40 caliber models, etc. Most of them will be available now in the new generation Glock, the Gen V. This is not a Gen V, by the way, but I'm using this as an example here. Now, even though most of the models are still going to be available in the new Gen V, some people are losing their marbles. They're going out and paying 2-3 times what a Glock is worth just so they get one before they're gone, even though they're not actually going to be gone. And even people that aren't freaking out thinking they're going to be gone are having some issues because Glock is making some internal changes to their guns. And those small changes, and they should be pretty small, are making them think, well, are Glocks still going to be what they used to be? Are they going to shoot the same? Are they going to feel the same? Are they going to be as reliable? And that's a legitimate concern. So today I want to take a look at the guns, inside the gun, and I want to talk about what they've already announced they're going to do, the changes they're going to make. Now, they haven't been specific, but they have told us what they're going to do, so let's take a look inside and talk about it. Before we talk about the actual changes, let's look at how the actual Glock switch makes these fully automatic. There is a little piece that sticks forward right here. It's a little wedge. It just goes right along through here. And when it's pushed forward, it actually holds down this piece right here. It keeps it from popping back up when the connector goes back into position. That's all it really is. It's just a little wedge that slides in between this space right here that has a little ramp on it. It still allows the connector to move. It leaves a space for that. And it actually holds this down without actually blocking the foot on the firing pin. That little ramp on the Glock switch fits in that little slot right there. It actually rides right along the foot on the firing pin to where that doesn't interfere in its movement, and it leaves enough of a space that the connector or disconnector, whatever you want to call it, can still move freely over here. But when it gets into this little channel back here where it would normally pop the cruciform on the trigger bar up, that little wedge is stuck right there just far enough forward that it prevents that from coming back up. That's the part we're talking about right there, the little cruciform part. It actually is putting pressure right there. So when that disconnector or connector pops back, it doesn't allow this to come back forward. So the gun fires again because it doesn't block the firing pin. If you look at the pieces side by side here, you can just see what I'm saying. There's just a little piece of steel, a little ramp that slides in between there and stops that cruciform trigger bar from popping back up. That's all it does. Now, the first change that Glock has announced is pretty easy to understand. They're basically just changing out the standard trigger bars here, these cruciform systems, with the Performance Center trigger, which is set up differently. It doesn't have the same setup here. It doesn't have this big flat piece with nothing in the way of something coming over it. So you can't really put that little wedge in there as easily and get it to work as a fully automatic. So basically they're just putting in the upgraded trigger that they already make and a lot of aftermarket companies make, but they're going to make it a little bit looser, they said. They're going to change the tolerances just a little bit just to make sure it's as reliable as the old trigger. I don't know if that's really necessary because I haven't had a problem with any of the Performance Center triggers being unreliable, but if they feel the need to do it, they probably know more about it than I do. But that's the one change that they have announced that's pretty easy to understand and see what they're doing. Now, one change that they've said they're making is they said they're changing the back plates. Now, I'm not exactly sure how they're doing that. I'm sure they're just making it to where it makes it harder to make something that fits in here properly, to replace this with something that isn't a back plate. I don't know what they're going to do. I'm assuming they're changing the channel a little bit on the actual slide. Maybe they're putting in a little lock tab. I don't know. But they're going to make this harder to remove and replace with something that would make the gun fully automatic. That shouldn't be any big thing. It's just going to be a small, simple little change. We just don't know what it is yet. Now, those two changes alone, the back plate and the changes to the trigger bar, should make it to where it's highly unlikely that anybody's going to be able to make anything that slides in here right and actually interferes with the normal performance of the gun. But just to make sure it can't be done, they're also going to make some changes to the inside of the slide. Now, we don't know what that is yet. but I'm assuming maybe they'll put like a little raised piece in here somewhere that doesn't interfere with the trigger bar, but prevents anything from coming in here. Now, some of the reports I saw said the change was going to be up towards the breech face. So I'm not sure what that would be, but I'm betting it's going to be something back here more so that doesn't interfere with the actual disconnector or connector movement, but still prevents something from being put there. I guess maybe something will be done up here. Maybe the piece will run all the way back. I don't know. I'm sure they're going to figure it out. I'm sure they know how to do it, but it's just going to be a small change to the actual milling on the inside of the slide. So you're basically going to have a Glock with a performance center trigger that's been slightly changed, a backplate that's been slightly changed, and there's going to be a small modification to the inside of the slide right here. And I can't see that any of those changes are very big. Even though I can't tell you exactly what the changes to the backplate are going to be or to the inside of the slide, I just can't imagine that they're going to be anything drastic. So as you can see, the changes are definitely minimal. They should have almost no effect on how the gun works, if any effect at all. I don't think anyone will be able to notice the difference, especially not if you're just shooting a gun and not taking it apart and looking at the internals. So I think this is all a bunch of nothing. It's people panicking, it's people trying to drive up the market, etc. But in the end, Glocks are still going to be around, and I'm betting they'll be just as good as they ever were. Maybe even a little better since they're switching to that performance style trigger bar. Please hit that like button and share this video on whatever social media you have. Since this is a restricted channel, you're the only chance we have to overcome YouTube's anti-2A bias and discrimination.